I've never been good with the ladies, but despite the fact that I'll never be Rico Suave, JB Smoove, or Mr. Steal Your Girl, I am and will always be Mr. Steal Your Grandma. And when I leave your Nona's house with a belly full of home cooking and a pocket full of Werthers, you'll know that like Tony, 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 I've done it again. It's not just because my references are so dated that they could be collected and sold as a calendar, but because I let my love of plastic soldiers and all things miniature translate to an appreciation of knickknackery. I love a good collection of souvenir spoons or painted plate decorated with a cardinal. I can coo over precious moments, and you bet your backside I can build her a display for her insanely expensive Department 56 Christmas houses. I'm not a peak grandson just because I can bebop at the sock hop, not just because I can find the channel on the TV with that fella with the bow tie, but because your me mom not only finds me handsome, she finds me handy. And with little more than a sheet of foam and a box cutter, you too can be a grandma's boy worthy of your $12 birthday check. Let's get into it. First things first, figure out how big the table is you're making the display for. The table I'm working with is 5 foot by 37 inches. I'll be making my display in 3 20 by 37 inch sections for ease of transit and because everything is better in threes, like similes, metaphors, analogies, and examples. Once you've decided on a good size, bring a large sheet of white insulation foam down to the floor and cut out the bottom levels. Take the time to cut the foam precisely. Foam is usually forgiving, unlike Janet in HR, but being that these pieces will be sitting next to one another, take the time and make sure the blade is sharp and the cuts are straight. Once the bottom 3 layers are cut, move on to level 2. This will cover between 30 and 60% of level 1, and I would suggest sketching out a rough outline to keep the hills and bluffs cohesive. Just make sure to save your larger offcuts as they can be used for the second and third levels. Build up that third level with the bigger offcuts, trying to keep them at least 6 by 6 or 8 inches by 8 inches to accommodate the houses they'll be holding. Lay everything out on the floor so that you have a rough design of your final shape. Start with the chunks of foam that are on the third level or standing alone and mark the sides that need to be cut. Cut out bluffs and crags by slicing into the foam with a box cutter at an angle and mirroring the same cut on the other side. Use different angles, depths, and tilts to vary the crags to make an interesting shape. Use this time as a moment to remember your grandma and all she does for you, and then comment her best recipe so that I'll know what I'll be having for dinner tonight. Make sure to clean up as you go because this process is extremely messy, and trying to suck up all that foam with a vacuum cleaner will clog the hose and burn out the motor of said vacuum cleaner that your grandma got for you as a housewarming gift, changing this from a $25 project into a $45 project. Also, I don't know how much vacuum cleaners cost. Once done, set all the pieces back up and start gluing them down. For smaller pieces, I'm using a hot glue gun. Glue down only the finished pieces or pieces that will share an edge so that they can be cut together, maintaining cohesion between the crags like a really good Bond film. Then a not so good Bond film. Then an okay Bond film. And then maybe a couple more that came and went and no one really cared about. For any larger pieces, use a giant tub of school glue you bought for some reason 10 years ago and spread it on with the last paintbrush that backsassed you. Set that aside for a day, weighed down with a few of those college textbooks you haven't thrown away yet, and begin cutting bluffs into the larger pieces. This process is nearly identical to cutting bluffs into the smaller ones, except you can see the couch from the 70s my grandma gave me in the background. Glue down the second piece, spreading the glue around with that paintbrush you accused of backsassing you because you misplaced your larger paintbrush, and set that aside, weighed down under a couple of those weight plates you promised yourself you'd start using, and move on to the third and final section. Clean up the edges and cut out the last of the crags, and just admit that you didn't see Spectre or No Time to Die. This whole process is pretty simple but slightly repetitive, and like I told my wife 1,000 times, not enough people appreciate repetition. And just in case you didn't catch that, I've told my wife over 1,000 times that not enough people appreciate repetition. Christmas is still a few months away, and at the time of posting we're still in the midst of spooky season, and we all know that there's nothing scarier than starting to celebrate Christmas too early. The same 12 songs, played on repeat for 6 weeks without end, can turn even the jolliest of elves into a Grinch. And just to give a definitive answer on this, the proper time to start celebrating Christmas is after Advent. And if you don't know what Advent is, wait for it. Grandma's house isn't just a place that's over the hills and through the woods. It's not just a place to fill your belly and make awkward small talk with your cousins. Grandma's house is a place to experience joy, happiness, and the love of a mother that hasn't grown tired of your nonsense. So with the season of holidays and family dinners fast approaching, give your grandma a display for her Christmas village made with only a fraction of the love she's put into every meal and birthday, every Christmas and confirmation, and every little thing she's done with you without you ever appreciating it. Give her that and my number. Have a good one.